now starting. Okay, well, welcome everybody to the Hampstead Heath Survey Section AGM for 2023. So I'm Liz Andrew, I'm the chair of the section, and quite a few of you will probably know me because you will have been out on some of our surveys. So so this is now, wait a minute, trying to find a way to get to the next page. There we go. So here's the agenda for the meeting. We've had one apology for absence from Pete Mantle. I don't know if anybody's had anyone else apologize. Jeff, our secretary, might know of somebody. No, that's fine. And so what we're going to do first is just run through the minutes of the last AGM. And I've just put those up as a summarized form on the next two slides. And then what we'll do is somebody will propose that they're correct and somebody will second that. And then if you want to object to anything, then you can just raise your hand or put it in the chat and we'll pick that up. Otherwise, we'll take it as accepted. So this was just the first page of the meeting. It's just on 2 pages, so it's very, very brief. And when you've had a quick look through that, I'll move on to the next page. Okay, and here's the next page of that. So we just elected all the officers again and the committee members. And then, oh, and I gave the chair's report. I think we're going to elect the officers before my chair's report this time. And then we had our date for the next meeting. So would anybody like to propose by raising their hand or putting it in the chat? And I think, Kat, you'll have to see what's happening there because I can't actually see that.
So nobody's gone for, but I can propose them.
Okay, Kat's going to propose. Thank you. And Maria has raised her hand as well. So we need somebody to second the minutes then. So was that Maria for seconding?
I can second them.
Marvelous. Thank you, Maria. Okay, brilliant. So thank you very much, everyone. So if we go on to back to the agenda, then the next thing we need to do is to elect the committee for 2024. And before we do that, I'd just like to say thank you to John Eggington, who stepped down from our committee. And he was excellent at helping to get the whole of the Hampstead Heath Survey Section reset up with Kat. And so we would like to just warmly thank him for that. So what we're going to do first is we've got a poll for the officers. So that's me, Liz Andrew, our secretary, Jeff Varger, Kat Duke as representative to council. And so when the poll comes up, you need to just make your choice for each person as it appears. So you've got a chance somewhere on there to say yes, no, or not an LNHS member. So if you're not a member, then please don't vote. If you don't want to vote, then you can just abstain. So we'll give everybody a minute or two to do that.
Votes are coming in nicely.
You might have to scroll down a bit to see the bottom one here, the Kat as representative. I think we must have nearly everybody there.
We've got 20 out of 36 have voted on some, 21 out of 21. Yep, we're nearly there. Let's give it just a couple more moments.
I don't know how we work this one out, actually.
So this is actually going to be harder to note down than I had thought, but I'm going to call the results now, and since we're recording, that will help. So if everyone has finished voting, if you haven't, get on those buttons real fast, and I will now call the results. So for Liz, we have 70% yes, but that's because 26% are not members and 4% are abstaining. There are no no's. So you're in, Liz. Jeff Barger, 70% yes. Nobody has said no, of course. 26% are not LNHS members and 4% are abstaining. And then me down the bottom, I think people need to scroll down a bit. So 70% yes, no no's, and 26% not LNHS and 4% abstain. So it's the same for all of us, 70, 26, and then 4%. I don't know if the abstainers are not members or just choosing to abstain. So that is a yes for all of us, and no no's for any of us.
Great. Thank you very much. And I just mentioned that Kat and I, as we're a co-host, are not able to vote on this one.
Well, we can vote, but not via the poll. So I'm going to end the poll now. Thank you very much for that, everybody.
Okay, great. And
I can share the results. Did not know
excellent.
that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
All right. So the next.
We've had actually a couple more in since what I just said. 71%.
Oh, well, never mind. Next time.
Stop sharing. There we go.
Okay. So how do we do the next one then?
I'm going to launch the next poll now, and it is launched. So this is for everybody else on the committee.
So you'll have to scroll down a bit for this one, because we've got Jeff Duckett, Joe Maddox, Pete Mantle, and Ben Gibb.
And I will have to write these down separately because it's going to matter. So we've got votes coming in thick and fast. We'll give it some more time though. Still coming in, so let's just give it a little bit more time. Has it stopped? I think we've pretty much stopped now because, oh no, some more happening. All right, we'll give it just a few more moments since some people have just found their luck. Thanks. Oh, there's still more coming in.
Yeah.
End the poll shortly. So
okay.
Vote, then now is the time. All right, I think we've probably got it. So Jeff Duckett, we've got 14 yeses, 1 no, 8 non-members, and no abstains. So Jeff, you are in. And Joe Maddox, we've got 13 yeses, no no's, 8 non-LNHS members, and 1 abstention. Pete Mantle, we have got 13 yeses, no no's, 8 not LNHS members, and 1 abstention again. And then last but very much not least, Ben Gibb, we have got 13 yeses,
14.
No,
14 yeses.
14, sorry, that came in for last minute vote there. 14 yeses, 1 no, 8 not LNHS members, and 1 abstention. So everybody's in.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's great. That's
brilliant. That's the end of the polls, everybody. Thank you.
Good. All right. So share results.
Oh, on that, no, because on that one, I've just closed it. So
oh, don't worry. Don't worry.
Anyway, we read them out, so they're recorded. So that's good.
That's fine. Okay, good. All right. So excellent. So let's try and get rid of that. And let's get back. Now we can do the chair's annual report for last year. So I'll talk you through that. So, oh no, wait a minute. I was supposed to show you that and I forgot. Okay, so this is a photo I took a month or so ago West Heath, because West Heath often gets left out and people don't go there very much, but it is very beautiful, and it's rich in biodiversity like everywhere else on the heath. So what we have then as part of our survey section is that we do a monthly survey on the heath, which is open to members of the public, which we advertise, so I think everybody knows about that. And so we've got butterflies, which were done last year by Joe Maddox. The birds are Pete Mantle and Kennedy Cruikshank, and that's done together with the London Bird Club. And then Jeff Varger and I did ferns and dragonflies. Tommy Root comes to do plant galls. We have several surveys on spiders with David Carr, and fungi with Mario Tortelli. That in fact we did. The recent one was just last weekend, so it will be the one November last year that we're talking about here. Bryophytes with Jeff Duckett, flowering plants, Mario Maculan, and then we also did a Sandy Heath BioBlitz, which Liz, Jeff and Ben all helped to organise, where we tried to get as many different taxa and species recorded as we possibly could. So the highlights for 2023. So for plants, we had the first record within a 10-kilometre radius of red Bartsia at Kenwood on the meadow there. And we had two interesting fungi. The first record in London, Cyphella ferruginea, and then first record not just for London, but almost in the whole of Britain, Favolacia cloudopus, the ping pong bat fungus, which looks like a small orange ping pong bat. We went back and had a look for it last weekend, but we haven't been able to locate it, so I don't know if it's going to reappear. Spiders, there were 4 important ones that were highlighted, and 2 of those were fairly new arrivals in the UK, and the others not that new, but certainly all first on the heath. Bryophytes, we had a tiny little moss, Ephemerum minutissimum, which was just the second record in VT21, which is the botanist's name for Middlesex. And a barn owl came to visit us in the late spring, early summer, which was the first record in living memory, and we hoped it was going to stay, but sadly it was lost. So and then we had a new dragonfly species as well, the hairy dragonfly, and there seemed to be almost no records for that north of London, so that was very exciting. That was seen in several different places, so hopefully that's going to stay. So what else we do then, I'm just going to admit somebody else here, sorry. What else we do then is weekly monitoring with Heath Hands, the charity that does a lot of biodiversity work on the heath and helps with conservation with the City of London Corporation. So we monitor weekly the butterflies, the dragonflies and the reptiles on the heath. There's also a hedgehog project going on, which is partly with the Zoological Society of London and also with Heath Hands. And then Jeff Duckett and I regularly monitor the sphagnum bog, triple SI for the mosses and liverworts there. And then a year ago, I was awarded, or rather I should say, LNHS was awarded a grant from the City of London Corporation called the Millennial Flora Project, and that's what I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about now. Let's try and find my way forward. So just to remind you, I did show this last year because this was when it was originally set up, but the original Millennial Flora Project was run between about 1997 and 2003 by LNHS members who mapped the plants, the flowering plants and the ferns all over Hampstead Heath. And what you can see on this little map here is what they recorded. This is Prunus spinosa, which is blackthorn. And you can see that it's quite prevalent in some places and less so in others. So they found over 650 species of native plants, but also garden escapes, introductions, and alien plants that have colonized the heath. So this was a really exciting thing, and we thought it would be good to try to revisit some of that. So I wrote the grant for revisiting the millennial flora, and it was divided up really into 3 sections. So the one was to map the key flora. We felt we couldn't really map absolutely everything all over again, particularly as it was mostly just me doing it, and I'm not really a botanist. But this is an example of one that we're in the process of mapping and haven't quite finished yet. Scirpus sylvaticus, the common name of which I've temporarily forgotten, but it occurs in wetland areas, and you can see that there were several on the map where it had actually occurred. And what we found looking for it again is that what I've done on this map is where we still find it in exactly the same place. It's an overlap with the previous record. I've put a blue square, but it's also been found in a couple of other places, which are the green squares on the heath. So it's either colonized new places, or unfortunately it wasn't picked up when the original survey was done. But it's quite nice to see that some of the plants are still there 20 years later in the same locations. So the next thing that we've been doing is looking in depth at small areas of habitat to see what plants are growing there. And this is known as the National Vegetation Classification Survey. And the way that that's done is that a quadrat is put down. The top picture here just shows where the quadrats were put on one of our surveys, and we sit around them, bits of string. You can see us at the bottom there, sitting around the survey, working out all the plant species that occurred within that quadrat, and then assessing the percentage cover of each one, and that gets fed into computer software, and we get an idea about the plant community growing in that habitat. So that's a work in progress, and I'll be reporting on all of those results when we finish. But what we've done so far is we've, over the last 2 summers, basically, we've surveyed 8 meadows, 1 woodland and 1 heath. And we've still got a number that we want to do to finish off this summer with our last summer of the project. The third thing that we started in January this year was phenology of the flowering plants, and the bryophytes is a little bit behind with that, but that's just beginning to be started now. So phenology is looking at when plants come into bud, into flower, when they fruit, when the leaves fall off. And so people go out once a week. We have 2 transects that are walked weekly by volunteers from Heath Hands who are coordinating this part of the project for us. And they have been absolutely amazing. They've not missed a single week, and they go out and they look at their own particular trees and shrubs and plants along the route to see what they're doing. And so we're collecting very valuable information from them, which will form a baseline for looking at potential changes to climate and how that might be affecting the plants in the future. So we're going to start a 3rd transect in January this year. So if anybody's interested in getting involved in that, then do get in touch with me or with Heath Hands to get to come in on one of these transects. And so another thing about the Millennial Flora project, which I did actually show you last year as well, is that we have some lab space with a microscope at the Hive. We actually now have 2 microscopes because David Carr has kindly donated his old microscope to us as well. And Heath Hands help to manage and coordinate our volunteers, and they help to provide us with ID kits and lenses and whatever else we need. So I'd just like to finish off by thanking everybody who's helped with all of the work that we do on Hampstead Heath, and particularly the Heath Hands, the LNHS botany section, all the people who've been leading our surveys, and of course City of London Corporation and the Kenwood gardening team. On that note, I think that's finished my chair's report, so we can just get back to finishing off our AGM now. And is there, and see if there's any other business. Does anybody have anything that they would like to bring up at this point? If you could want to raise your hand, and then we can ask you to mention it.
Or you can just take yourself off mute if you'd like to ask a question. So Andrew Planet's asked in the chat, is there a small library, say field guides at the Hive? I think there is there, Liz?
Yes, we do have a small library. You have to get permission to get into the Hive. You just have to organize it in advance. That's the only problem. There's usually somebody there during the day, but it would be good to just liaise with me if you want to get into the Hive, and then I can sort it out. Anything else?
Nothing else in chat. I'd like to just take this opportunity to thank you for being an excellent chair for another year. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So date of next meeting will be around the same time next year, I guess, but we've not actually organized it yet, but it'll be probably sometime in the first week or 2 of November. And thank you all very much for coming for this. And I think I have recorded it, so now I can stop the recording, and then we can move on to the next part, which is the talk by Mick Massey.